Jim and Lynda here. We are a husband and wife real estate team from Horizon West, Florida. And if you're thinking about moving to the Orlando area, you might be a little overwhelmed and confused.
So that's why we put together this helpful quiz. You can see it in the links below. Answer a few questions. Let us help you try to find the right community for you. And we know there's a lot of factors that go into that. In today's video, we have a lot of people that talk about wanting to rent rather than buy. We want to address some of the top reasons, and some of them are very valid reasons, right? For wanting to rent first. That's part of our story. When we first moved, we were like, maybe we should rent, so we kind of
get to know the area.
Get to know the area. It's so different from where we are that we need to get the area first. So the first reason that people say they want to rent instead of buy is to learn the area first. Really, what's behind that, right? They don't want to make a mistake. So we want to figure out, does this area work for our family? Is it safe? All these different things.
I think it's a little bit of the fear of the unknown too. You don't know what you don't know, so it can be a little scary and overwhelming.
We highly recommend coming and staying for maybe a week or two. Obviously, there's a very good short-term rental market here. We have some people that come and stay for months at a time before they decide they actually want to move.
I would like to hope that we offer that comfort to let you know what it would be like. So we knew no one when we moved down. We didn't try to talk to a real estate agent first. And so we moved down and we ended up right smack in the middle of a short-term rental area. We would allow that to happen. A good agent would let you know, hey, you know what, this is mostly a short-term rental area.
Well, but it was also maybe part of our plan, because we were like, we can maybe buy this, stay in it for a little while.
Very true.
And then as we learn the area, we could move out and still have this to rent out
Keep
for
that
short-term
place
rentals.
to rent out.
So we did kind of have in our mind to buy, but maybe almost like, here's the second reason. It's easier, faster, and cheaper to rent than it is to buy.
So you think.
So you think. There are pretty high standards for renting. Rentals are kind of at a premium.
Rentals here in this Orlando area are like none others. And Jim and I have lived in many places in New Jersey. We've lived in New Orleans. We've lived in other places, and we've never come across the situations here. I mean, the way that it is done here in the Florida area. And not only we couldn't get any rental companies to answer us back either.
Sometimes very difficult to get a response. Sometimes they are kind of institutional property management companies. They're managing thousands of units for some of these hedge fund investment groups that buy properties specifically to rent them out. So then trying to get a response is difficult. A lot of times realtors that maybe list a rental, it's low on their priority because it's not a high commission or high value kind of thing. So there's not a lot of responsiveness. We found that for sure. And we've heard people tell us that it's hard to get back. So easy, not so much. Application for everyone over the age of 18 who would be living with you. So if it's a husband and wife, we each need a separate application, which also means a separate application fee. Whether you're approved or not, it's going to cost you $75, $100 to apply for that rental.
Per person over 18 who will be living in the home.
Right, and so our three youngest were over the age of 18.
Correct.
And we had to have 5 applications. So it does get kind of troublesome. I think the qualification part is also not very easy.
It's definitely not very easy, no. I mean, and so all this to be said is we are not saying that's a horrible idea, don't do it. We're saying, I think this is the reason that people are doing it. It's the reason we did it.
And I think I would encourage you to more strongly consider buying than renting. So the next reason that we have, that a lot of people have told us why they would prefer to rent for a year, maybe 2, maybe 3, is that the market's gonna crash. The Florida housing market, the prices are gonna drop a lot. They're gonna buy a place and it's gonna lose all its value. This is, I mean, it's a legitimate concern. There are flashbacks to like the 2007, 2009 global economic crisis, and across the country, housing prices really dropped. These come in cycles, right? And if you look back throughout kind of the the historical information of 100 years, which you can go online and find from the Federal Housing Administration, all kinds of different sources, you're going to see that there are peaks and valleys. There was a very unique situation that happened in 2008 that was a result of a lot of mortgage interest manipulation,
Right.
a lot of kind of questionable banking practices, and a lot of things safeguards have been put in place by government agencies to protect against that kind of thing happening again.
Right.
There were also different factors about inventory and having too many homes on the market, all kinds of different things. And really, a lot of that started right after 9/11 in 2001, and the government did a few things to try to help and spur the economy. And I think just as Americans, we felt this thing of wanting to be home and
Right.
have a home, so it was a reaction. And it took a few years to get to 2007, 2008, when the bottom fell. Listen, if we knew what the market was gonna do, we would be making a lot of different things. We would be talking to Warren Buffett, but I think even Warren Buffett doesn't really know what's gonna happen. He's just had a team of experts looking at things. And actually, one of the things that makes me say, don't rent, is when we first moved, we moved in August of 2020. We found a place in a short-term rental area because we thought we'd love to be able to start small in a townhome.
Feel like we're on vacation.
Feel like we're on vacation. It was close to Disney and Kissimmee, and then we could rent it out. And it was very lovely. I'm not negative about that experience at all. But I think what happened was we rented from a group of guys that had just purchased as an investment. They bought it for around $200,000 in July of 2020. 2 years later, when we moved out, those units were selling for $400,000.
Yeah, and we were like, if we would have just bought, we could be making that money rather than
we could have
paying their mortgage
equity
for them to. But hey, we knew the area better. Which would I rather, the 200,000 or the fact that I knew the area better? So it's a give or take. Yes, you will learn the area better, but what are you losing financially that you could have gained?
And maybe sometimes learn from others' mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Like,
which is why
we didn't really hear of anybody having that experience. I don't think we're going to hit that kind of historic double appreciation in value.
Exactly.
That's not going to happen. But I also don't think we're going to have a double reduction or depreciation in value.
Right.
The bottom is not dropping out. Maybe we'll do another video. I'm sure you'd love to talk about whether the market is correcting, crashing, etc., so on. But trying to time the market to decide about your move is going to leave you hanging in limbo for
very
an awful long time.
And I think another reason that makes people want to rent, and it kind of goes along with that, is this like fear of commitment, but also wanting to control. We can't control the market. We can't, it's all these fears.
Well, I think the fear of commitment is almost like if I buy, it's like getting married. I'm locked in. Because you're going to want to be there for it. But if you rent,
you're locked in for your lease term, but you're also giving up a lot of the control. Like, there's a little bit to be said for, hey, what if you have your lease? Yes, you are secure for 1 year if you sign a 1 year. But what if they decide they want to sell? Or they want to raise your rent?
Move in themselves.
There's a lot of control that you need to give up. There's a lot of of your own decision making that you might not be able to make.
Yeah, and I don't think the commitment doesn't necessarily mean, hey, you're committed. You bought a house, you got to stay there for 20 years. People can buy a house and 6 months later say, that didn't really work for me. And there's going to be a loss, potentially because of your closing costs and that sort of thing. But maybe not the kind of crazy loss that you're thinking of. Let's say you rent, and if a 4-bedroom home is going to average $2,500 a month, let's say. And I think that's probably on the low side. But $2,500 a month is $30,000 for that year. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
So the next thing, why people would want to rent? Well, there's no down payment and it's more affordable. I would say, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Security deposit, first and last
if
month's rent, you're going to have to come up with a sizable amount of money. Maybe, again, if it's $2,500 and you do a security deposit, which maybe that's 1.5 months rent. So that's almost $4,000.
And then if you have a pet, there's a fee per pet. And sometimes it's not a one-time $150 pet fee. It's $150 per month per pet that you have. And again, there goes the control, because you may be able to have a pet, but it has to be an under 10-pound dog, or, no cats, but a dog, small dog. There's much more to it than you realize until you start to step into it.
So there's a lot to consider, but affordability, maybe not.
Maybe not.
And it all depends again on when the landlord purchased the property, because they're not trying to have somebody rent it for less than what it costs them to pay for a mortgage,
right?
And taxes and insurance and an HOA if one applies. They want to cover their entire monthly expense and cash flow.
And they want to make some.
So think about that. That means you're paying somebody's all the expenses of home ownership plus cash flow, putting money into their pocket every month in order to pay that rent.
And move out fee and the cleaning fee, yes. And these are only things that we're thinking of off the top of our head, of reasons that we've heard from customers that come in, that we did think ourselves, which is why we want to express this. You might even be having more. And again, we are always, our phone numbers are in the comments. You can definitely call us, text us. We would love to talk this through. And yes, before the comment comes, do you also help with rentals? Yes, we can help you find a rental.
And we've helped people both rent out their home as opposed to listing it to sell it. And we've helped tenants find a place to rent as opposed to finding a place to buy. We want to work with the strategy that works best with you. We just definitely want to give you some thoughts. Maybe it's not really as easy as it seems. Or maybe it's not going to be no commitment or learning the area first or any of those things. If we're going to help you find a place, whether to buy or to rent, we're going to try to give you some encouragement, some direction, and some advice as professionals, as consultants, so that you don't feel like you've made a mistake.
Correct.
We don't want anybody to feel like they've made a mistake by the community that they select.
It's part of the reason we're so passionate about what we do is because we've been there. We've been on both ends. We struggled, we had nobody responding, and we really want to help make the relocation process easier. But if you're thinking about renting and you have some questions, give us a call.
Give us a call. And you know what? Sometimes if you're not in a position to buy yet, you have to work on credit, you have to save up for a down payment. Renting might be the best option, and use that year to not only familiarize yourself with the area, but to work on your qualifications, right? Work on getting a job here because the job that you had in another state maybe doesn't translate, or even if it's remote, is it going to work out? All those kinds of things.
Correct. So, and I would also say to that, don't make that decision before you talk to someone. Like, we could also help you in that area and refer you to some great.
We have some lenders that will maybe dispel some of the
fears
myths
that you
or
have,
the fears or the uncertainty, because you're really not sure until you actually do a mortgage application, actually find out if your employment will qualify for your income and all these other kinds of things. So
they know all the tricks.
They know all the tricks. One other thing that I think is kind of interesting, just as a footnote, is that there are companies that offer kind of an institutional approach to rent to own.
Sure.
And so there are some kind of hedge fund type builders or buyers that will buy properties for you as a tenant, and then you kind of basically are signing in for up to a 5-year lease with up to a 5-year option to purchase. Sometimes that's an easier qualification process. It allows you to have both locking in a reasonable purchase price and then also renting, so that you are being able to determine the area, if it works, if the house works, the community works, all those kinds of things. So there are those options that we'd be happy to share with you and help you explore if renting with the idea of future buying is in your mind. So those are all things.
We hope this helps. We hope that we've answered some of your questions, because renting does seem to be something that's out there, and we'd love to unpack what that thought is for you if it is something that you're thinking about.
There are a lot of different options if renting is what you do want to do. There are single family homes that are rented. There are townhouses and condos that are rented. There are even some very nice luxury apartment complexes that have just been built that are renting.
And some are renting furnished.
And that's the other thing. Some of them have furnished rentals. So if you have furniture, maybe you don't want to move, because quite honestly, the cost to move could be $5,000 to $10,000 for movers. What would it cost to get new furniture here? You could rent a place that's fully furnished in some areas and be able to take care of that. So pros and cons, hard to say. I think if you were to ask us, we would want to help you explore maybe the reasons why, and if maybe some of these reasons are your reasons, we'd like to talk those through with you. If you have other reasons, we'd love to hear them. Put them in the comments why you would prefer to rent rather than buy.
Reach out to us.
We're not going to try to
We've been
discourage you. We want to share our story because we do kind of wish that we had purchased initially rather than renting initially. So we hope you like this video. We'd love to share more information with you. Give us a call if you get a chance. Fill out the quiz or send us your information, and we'll start providing you info on the area. If you have questions about any of the communities in Horizon West, in Orlando, or in Central Florida in general, please reach out and give us a call. And we look forward to talking more with you soon.
Thanks for watching.